Folks, welcome back. It's my second video, and I was doing some watering today, and I thought I'd show you guys some of my orchids. This is an Oncidium. It's a dancing lady type. Got this new growth back here, nice and plump, and a new growth coming in right down here. One thing I'm a little perplexed about is the fact that these leaves are curling laterally, and I'm not exactly sure why. The plant seems to be growing just fine. I just don't know why they're curling. Even the new leaves on the new pseudobulbs, they're doing that too. Seems happy enough. It hasn't bloomed since I got it, but I'm gonna see if we can fix that this year. And sticking with the Oncidium types, I've got an Ancastelle. It's a wildcat white fairy is what the tag says. When I got it, that pseudobulb there was really shriveled. It's plumped up quite a bit, and has just recently put out this new growth here, which is looking pretty good. Looks like it's starting to get a little bit fatter too. So maybe we'll get some blooms on that in the near future. And this is a Degarmoara. Let's see the tag. Let me see if I can see the tag here. Degarmoara Shibumi Purple Rain. It's got really gorgeous purple blooms on it. Had 2 spikes when I got it, in good shape, and those have just gone over. Cut those spikes off, so now I'm waiting for new growth on that. And for dendrobiums, it's been a while since this was in bloom, and I believe it's a denphal. This is a new growth here, kind of spindly, so I'm not sure. Maybe I need to give it a little bit more light this year when I put it back outside for the spring. But it does have a new growth coming in down here. Sorry, my hand's all in the way. So we'll see how that does. I almost forgot. I've got this guy here was a rescue. Saw him at work, and pseudobulb so terribly shriveled. Thought I'd take it home and see if I couldn't try to revive it. It's that Miltonidium Pacific Waters Paul's Pride. It's got really gorgeous flowers on it. If I can get it to come back, I'll be really pleased. But as you can see, these pseudobulbs are really shriveled and starting to curl over. So this is the newest growth here, and I'm hoping that it'll put out some more new growth. I don't know if it's strong enough, but I'm sure gonna give it a try. Another rescue dendrobium. This one doesn't have but these 2 leaves left on it. The bloom spike's gone now, but good news is down in here somewhere, probably on the back side. It's got some new growth coming in somewhere in here. Just saw it today. No, suffice it to say, it's got some new growth coming in, so it's trying to push on. So we'll see how that does when they go outside in the spring. Let's see. This was a relatively new acquisition. It's a dendrobium. I don't have any ID. I'm sure someone knows what it is, but it's just got the nicest green flowers with a purple lip. Yeah, what you're seeing on camera is pretty true to color. So Sorry about the terrible lighting, but it's got all of its blooms have opened except for these last two. This one's cracked open, and this one should soon. They seem to take 2 or 3 days for the flowers, once they crack open, to actually open all the way. But it's hanging on. Even the oldest flowers look quite nice. So we'll see how long those stick around for us. Here's a little rescue fowl I've had for a while, and it's had a really hard time. You can see it's got some problems with the older leaves. Were definitely bigger. Look a little rough around the edges. It's got a few 3 little leaves here that are in pretty good health. I've been trying to keep it under decent light, so it's got some photosynthesis going on. Maybe it can put some roots out. It only had one stubby little dried looking root, so I stuck it in this little container. I drilled some pretty big holes all the way around, just sphagnum moss and perlite. Sifted out the fine stuff so I just have the big chunks. And it put out a new root down here. We're just going to see how well that does. And it's starting to push out a new leaf, so maybe that'll give it a little extra energy, which would be great. It's been so long since I've seen this one bloom that I don't even remember what it looks like. This little guy I actually picked up at the supermarket, got at Lidl, and it's just a little mini fowl. Well, we don't know how big it's gonna be, but I'm guessing mini or a mid-sized fowl. But I got it because the flowers were so striking. Let's see if I can get this in focus. It's faded now. It was darker yellow, but reminds me of Mini Mark. It's got the white. The yellow on the lip is paler. Even when it was dark, it was paler than that. Paler than the Mini Mark, and had some speckles down in there. So I don't know. Maybe it's crossed with Mini Mark somewhere along the line. But it's putting out a new leaf. I repotted it while it was in bloom, and it blasted a few blooms. But this guy's been on here for a while. He's just hanging out, and glad to see that. And I think I'm going to leave the spikes on this. Rick recommends leaving your spikes on, because that's really about the only place in the plant where it can retain any potassium, which it uses for blooms. So I'm gonna leave that on and see what it does. Got a couple of little guys here that I ordered online through eBay, which you'll find out eventually. I'm not a big fan of eBay. There are some great sellers up there, but there are some inherent problems in using eBay and PayPal. I just try to stay away wherever I can. But this guy's putting out some decent sized leaves here, so he's pretty happy. I just had these little blue pots, ugly little things, but they were laying around and they served a purpose. So I've got my orchids for their foliage and flowers, and not for their pots. When I repot, it'll go in something, probably a clear pot. And then this guy was in the same shipment. When I got it, just had this main growth, but it's put out this basil keiki, which I had considered removing, but honestly, I think I'm probably going to leave that on and just see what it does. I think that would give it a little bit more full look. We'll just see what it looks like later on down the line. There's always the option to remove it later. Once it's removed, though, it's removed. This is one of my oldest and largest fowls. And last year, I had to take a leaf off. It was a large leaf, but it got some clear spots in it, and started to get a bit mushy. So unfortunately I had to slice that off, but doesn't seem to have slowed it down too much. 2 new leaves since then, pretty decent sized, and it bloomed in 2018 and obviously is blooming now. I normally stake the spikes on this, but I'm just kind of letting it do what it wants to do. I was hoping it was going to come around the back and I could just let it kind of cascade forward, but it had other plans, and so you see in here it decided it was definitely going forward, even with a light behind the plant. I was hoping that would coax it out the back. It just didn't, though. So it's getting kind of a weird shape here, but I don't really care. I think it'll be nice either way. And this one's white, blooms with a pink lip, which of course everybody's got white phals, but she's big and she does well for me, so I'm gonna hang on to her. Back here I've got a couple of brassavolas. This one's yellowbird. Says on the tag it's a BL, which I suppose that's Brassilalia, but it's typically referred to as a Brassicatlia if I'm not mistaken. Normally don't buy these little guys because they're typically kind of cruddy looking. They just sit there for so long and get neglected in their little plastic bags, but I got this one because it had this spike on it. Of course it's much larger now. It was only about ½ an inch tall sticking out of the sheath there when I got it, but seems to be doing fairly well. Sorry about the light. These are my grow lights. I keep these guys under a bit of anthocyanin on there. I hope that's not too much of an issue for these guys, but I hear they like quite a bit of light when they are trying to bloom, so I'm trying to make sure that they get that. And then I've got back here behind it a Brassavola Little Stars, which is a cross between Nodosa and Cordata. And it's got some sheaths. Don't know that they'll do anything, but we'll see. It seems to be hanging on and growing well, so we'll just see what it does. Here's a seedling, Potinara. I believe it's been reclassified as a Cattleya, though. It's definitely a Cattleya type. Seems to be a unifoliate. Had this one a while, and it's not done a whole lot, but I did have some problems with the tips of the leaves going a bit brown and black. So trimmed off those parts that didn't look so good, and I upped the calcium because I know they're calcium hogs. This one is Chief Sweet Orange with red lip. That's what the tag says. This is the newest growth, which in the past week has, probably 2 weeks, has done a lot more than it has the whole time it's been on it. So I don't expect I'll have any blooms, but that's progress, so that's good. And it's hard to see, but down in here there are some new roots starting to form, and in there, so that's a good sign. And there's my little Renanthera manila. I don't know if you can see down in there, but it is producing a new leaf. It's just a little seedling. I got it just on a whim, so I'm not super familiar with their care, but I potted it up in some chunky charcoal that I had, and I'm just watering it. when the roots start to look a little dry. From what I understand, they like to stay relatively moist and warm. So try not to overdo the moisture while we've got this cool weather. And it stays pretty cool in my house. So I don't want any root rot. I'm trying to keep an eye on that. So probably every couple of days I give it a water. And hopefully it'll start taking off in the spring. Well, I think that's about it this go round. For those of you returning and watching my second video, I appreciate it. Those of you that are new, thank you for watching. I hope you'll stick around, hit that subscribe button if you think this might be something you're interested in. I do a lot of other plants. Today just happened to be a good day to water orchids, so that's what we're talking about today. If anybody has any ideas on what's going on with this Oncidium, just leave it down in the comments. Roger contacted him about it, and he says it seems to be something with the roots. It's unusual though, since we've got nice plump pseudobulbs. But maybe somebody out there's had this same issue and figured it out. If you did, please, I would love to hear what you think. Tell me down in the comments what you've got in bloom or in spike. Love to hear. Post a video. I'd love to see it. And thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again soon.